This presentation will outline our action research work in developing remote learning pedagogy at CCYD. I'm Justine James, Assistant Head Teacher for Teaching and Learning. Firstly, to give some context, we are a secondary school, 11 to 18, situated in Bridgend. We have 1,281 learners on roll and 79 teaching staff. We have a clear and established school vision, which was developed by our Teaching and Learning group 3 years ago in collaboration with staff, governors and learners. To set the scene for how we developed our action research pedagogy, it's important that I outline our professional learning ethos and its importance in realising our whole school vision. The school's culture and ethos supports the professional learning of all of our staff. We have a professional learning leader in place, and he ensures that all staff have access to and are enabled to complete professional learning opportunities as they arise. Over 20% of our staff have completed or are currently engaged in inquiry-based leadership and management qualifications, and these range from level 4 to level 7. Staff are willing to train others in-house through shared pedagogy, one-to-one coaching, and also through learning walks, which I'll talk about later in the presentation. We are a professional standards ambassador school for excellence, which enables staff to identify the professional learning needs against the standards. We have robust systems in place for information sharing and identifying professional learning opportunities. Staff are encouraged to participate in action research groups to focus on inquiry. We're currently looking at retrieval practice, ambitious and capable learners, and also feedback and progress. And we're also currently trialling creative education for more personalised professional learning. To put into context where we are today with our action research journey, this started early back in 2019, where we decided within the Teaching and Learning group that we wanted to focus on learner resilience and independence. We felt that many of our learners had become too dependent on the teacher for their learning, and many staff fed back to us in surveys that they felt that they were spoon-feeding learners, and often many learners were also prone to giving up when faced with challenges. Extensive work was then done to gather initial data and information through surveys and focused approach to learning walks, which centred all around learner resilience and independence. We were able to focus on this over a 12-month period with pre- and post-strategy evaluative studies through learning walks and also through learner and staff voice. The Teaching and Learning group took a full lead on the whole process and developed rubrics to be used which looked at the qualities of resilience and independence. The learning walks were conducted by a team of 30 volunteer staff, following training to ensure a consistency of approaches. We then came up obviously with some strategies that we could implement across the whole school, and on the screen now are some examples of these strategies that we have found most useful in developing resilience and independence in our learners. We'd already started our journey into action research when COVID came along, and unfamiliar terms like synchronous and asynchronous teaching soon became part of our everyday language. We already had a strategy in place which worked for us in sharing ideas around pedagogy through our Teaching and Learning newsletter. Once remote learning came to the forefront, we decided to share ideas around using online tools and apps to engage and facilitate our home learning and publish these in our newsletter. The culture of supporting each other in upskilling for teaching and learning was already in place, but never would we have realised how much we would need to adapt our ways of teaching in such an urgent and radical way when we were forced into remote learning by the pandemic. As fate would have it, last January, we had appointed internally a DCF coordinator, Charlotte Powell, and I don't think any of us, including Charlotte, would have imagined the steep learning journey we would have ahead of us back then. COVID did not faze Charlotte one bit. She set about upskilling staff in the use of Google Classroom, and to do this she created simple video blog tutorials to suit all levels of ability. This was true differentiation from the word go. Her role modelling of this developed staff confidence, and staff were encouraged to trial apps online and create their own video blogs to train other staff. We have found that information sharing and ensuring a consistent approach to remote facilitation has been key, so that learners, staff and parents know what to expect and what they have to do. On the screen you will see some guides that we have produced as part of our teaching and learning group, along with the expertise of Charlotte to support home learning. We have staff guides, learner guides and parental guides. Our leader for teaching and learning, Claire West, is going to talk you now through how we approached our remote learning action research.
Hello, my name is Claire West and I'm the lead teacher for teaching and learning at CCYD. I was really excited to attend the Doug Lemov training on principles for remote instruction on the 5th of November. I'm currently part of an action research group using the strategies in Teach Like a Champion to develop ambitious and capable learners in our school. I was hopeful that this training would enhance our blended learning provision, and it didn't disappoint. As you will be able to see from the points mentioned on the screen, we were able to develop a collaborative working group to research and share the ideas that were modelled during the training session, which means that we are developing a blended learning approach that is researched, proven, manageable for our staff of all digital abilities, while providing consistency and effective learning environments online for our learners. The session itself modelled how effective remote learning could be with the use of breakout spaces, chat functions, various ways of questioning, and the use of video, which is incredibly powerful and could be used for further staff training. The ideas promoted could be easily and quickly implemented and could be adopted across all departments to achieve greater consistency. They did not require us to completely change our practice, but would refine and improve what was already in place, creating a better learning environment for both learners and staff. Immediately after attending, it was decided that an action research group should be set up to study the principles in further depth, based upon teaching in the online classroom. This was an area of pedagogy that our staff were very keen on researching and developing, and instead of having one member of staff per chapter of the book as first anticipated, we were able to pair up teachers to collaborate on shared sections. We bought each a copy of the book and they collaborated to summarise the key strategies and tips to share with all staff. 2 other staff from our teaching and learning group were also able to attend subsequent training from CSC with Doug Lemov on the principles for remote instruction.
So our action research group was set up to provide continuing professional learning opportunities and upskill our staff. Having completed the online webinar, Claire enthusiastically put an email out to all staff explaining an outline of the webinar and also our ambition to create a simple resource guide for all staff to use. She invited staff to take part in this research and set out the expectations of this collaborative project. 14 teachers put their names forward for this. So the group explored each chapter and analysed the video clips. They then summarised and gave tips for each clip, collated into a really easy to follow resource guide for our staff to use. The research provided the team of 14 with the opportunity to upskill and develop their understanding of synchronous and asynchronous approaches to online learning. They were able to develop this knowledge by providing a training tool for the wider teaching community within CCYD in a simple and concise guide that teachers can dip into at any time. So with the research completed just before Christmas, staff have had the opportunity since January to implement some of the strategies they have learned about through their studies. We've asked staff to evaluate the impact of some of these ideas and how they have influenced the way they facilitate their remote learning and teaching.
Ensuring the first slide includes a what you will need and a speedy starter has proved really useful. Using the chat bar has improved the pace when questioning, as well as the confidence of the learners. I have taken more time to think about how I should create my blended learning resources. Learners have definitely engaged better with a wider variety of tasks.
The whole school use of yellow text boxes has proven really effective. Pause points have been helpful to give the learners a chance to think and break down the lesson, processing one task at a time.
It made me realise that modelling the process and explaining live were of high importance, as well as providing exemplar materials.
Pause points placed in videos have given them more of a lesson feel, and there have been less queries regarding instructions.
Clearer routines and instructions have made the learners more comfortable during live lessons. They know what is expected of them.
We shouldn't be doing too many things within the live lesson and on their devices at once. I now split the lesson in half for live theory and half for them to complete tasks and formative assessment at the end. To dissolve the screen, I've been using props from home rather than images on slides.
It has removed my worries about being too formal and having the perfect voiceover. We aren't perfect in the classroom, so don't need to be remotely either.
Live lessons have allowed me to control the pace of the learning, as some learners are struggling with time management and or need extra support. Using the pupils' names and ensuring that my camera is on, even if theirs aren't, helps to foster a feeling of togetherness. They are not on their own, I'm there for them. I present the same slide at the start of every live lesson, providing the learners with a lesson objective and the materials they require. This models a face-to-face lesson, so provides familiarity. Giving the pupils prior notice that their next lesson will be live and an opportunity at the start of the lesson to gather materials and check in has worked well. These are the same things we do at the start of a face-to-face lesson. We welcome the learners and ensure that they have the correct materials for the lesson. The pause point during a screen recording has been really useful too. It mirrors a face-to-face lesson. I've witnessed the learners using this in the hub and it was great. It allowed the lesson to be chunked up into small, achievable tasks and also set the pace for their learning. The learners loved hearing their own teacher's voice.
So hopefully you can see from the staff feedback the impact the researchers had on remote learning pedagogy. The willingness to take risks and work outside of their comfort zone is something we feel really proud of as a learning community, and we continue to share ideas on a weekly, if not daily basis through our DCF blogs and digital tips, in which all staff are encouraged to share their ideas. We are a community that is true to our vision, and this is proven in our continued collaborative work to support each other. This has become embedded in our everyday practice and our ethos. And whilst we recognise that none of us are experts or have the definitive answer to successful remote learning, we are certainly willing to give it a go together. I'd like to thank Chloe, Hazel, Josh, Abby, Rhian, Claire and Charlotte for contributing to this presentation, and I'd like to thank you for listening.